Welcome to Grumpy Vegan Grandad, Dan here. In this video I want to take you down that rabbit hole that is the medical profession and Big Pharma. This conspiracy theory is the only one I believe in because, well, most of it is actually true, if not all. But let's start at the beginning. As we evolved from apes into modern humans, we didn't have the NHS or healthcare insurance or doctors. We didn't even have medicines. But through trial and a lot of error, we learned how some plants can help us when we are ill, how they can kill pain or cure a health problem. Some of these humans gained great knowledge and became specialists, to whom the whole village would visit with their ailments. Now obviously, as time went on, we became more and more inventive. But on the negative side, we started waging war on each other with more and more sophisticated weapons that could cause worse and worse damage, irreparable damage. We domesticated and rode horses. We fell off, broke bones and cracked skulls. We got infections from microscopic bacteria that we didn't know existed. Plagues came along like the Black Death. And of course, when we started domesticating animals, we got zoonotic viruses. And well, more people died than lived when they hurt themselves or got ill. Fast forward to the 19th century when the Industrial Revolution started and people were living in large towns and cities where diseases evolved and spread rapidly. We saw medicine revolutionised by advances in chemistry, laboratory techniques and equipment. Old ideas of infectious diseases, epidemiology, were gradually replaced by advances in bacteriology and virology. So came anaesthesia, antibiotics, antiseptics, etc. So all good so far, and on it went, discovery after discovery, helping us live longer and fight disease, repair after accidents. Public health legislations came into being. We could buy remedies over the counter, and of course we still had the old herbal remedies that had been tried and tested over millennia. So when did it all change? Well, let me introduce you to John D. Rockefeller, widely considered the wealthiest American of all time and the richest person in modern history. Born in the US in 1839, by the turn of the 20th century he owned 90% of all petrol refineries in America, just as the scientific world was getting excited about new petrochemical industries that would eventually create plastics, among other things. But also in the early 1900s, scientists were also understanding the basic mechanics of life and health, and so the essential vitamins including B1, B2, biotin, vitamin C, vitamin A, vitamin D were discovered and enabled simple vitamin remedies to cure illness caused by vitamin deficiency, such as scurvy and rickets, leading on to research into synthetic versions, with vitamin C being the first ever artificially synthesized vitamin by scientists in Switzerland. Rockefeller was smart enough to see this as a big opportunity, with the possibility that vitamins and medications could be developed from petroleum. He saw the chance to control and monopolise multiple industries at once: petroleum, chemical and medical. And of course, petrochemicals were ideal from a business perspective because they could be patented, owned and sold for high profits. So away he went, first buying German pharma company IG Farben, who later experimented on concentration camp victims and used slave labour during World War II and were the biggest company in Europe. To eliminate the competition, Rockefeller hired a contractor named Abraham Flexner to submit a report to Congress in 1910. This report concluded that there were too many doctors and medical schools in America, and that all the natural healing modalities which had existed for hundreds of years were unscientific quackery. The report called for the standardization of medical education, whereby only the AMA, another monopoly, would be allowed to grant medical school licenses in the US. and it was successful. So, with these legal changes in place, Rockefeller teamed up with Andrew Carnegie and started funding medical schools all over America in the strict condition that they only taught allopathic medicine. Through the power of their huge grants, this powerful team systematically dismantled the previous curricula of these medical schools, removing any mention of the healing powers of herbs or natural treatments. Teachings on diet and other natural non-drug treatments were also completely removed from the medical programs. After removing traditional medicines from schools, Rockefeller made sure to secure his monopoly by launching a targeted smear campaign against his competitors. Homeopathy and natural medicines were discredited and demonized through the newspapers and other media of the time. Some doctors were even jailed for using natural medicine treatments, including treatments that had been used safely and effectively for decades before. In a very short time, medical colleges were all homogenized. All the students were taught the same allopathic system. Allopathic medicine is also called allopathy. It's a health system in which medical doctors, nurses, pharmacists and other healthcare professionals are licensed to practice and treat symptoms and diseases with medication, surgery, radiation or other therapies and procedures. And medicine was now defined as a process of prescribing patented drugs. A pill for an ill became the mindset of American medicine. In short, the diligent work of Rockefeller and Carnegie was a smashing success. They crushed the underfunded grassroots competition and created our current medical system. This system continues today, wherein Big Pharma makes large donations to medical schools in exchange for teaching the medical students to use their patented drugs. As part of the system, many alternative treatments are criminalized. For example, by law, it is illegal to treat cancer with any modality except chemotherapy, surgery, or radiation. It is actually a criminal felony in the US for a medical practitioner to treat cancer with anything but these three modalities. Why is this the case? Follow the money. The average cost of cancer treatment is $150,000. So clearly, Rockefeller and his presidents were keen to keep the monopoly on this one. And of course, the American Cancer Society was founded by no one other than John D. Rockefeller himself in 1913. So as you can see, Rockefeller's master plan came into being. So basically, the medical profession turned into something that just puts a band-aid on it. I mean, I'm not discrediting the whole of the medical profession. We've made some great advances in medicine. But Rockefeller used and brought in a system that discredited all the ancient millennia-old remedies, cures, preventions that were in place at the time, and that worked. And from the most of it were free. You know, it was using herbs and stuff we could find out there. I mean, for example, leeches. Who would have thought leeches would have made a comeback? I mean, it's not totally vegan, but if you look, in the old days they used to use it for bloodletting, but they've brought them back now because hospitals such as UCLH in London use these bloodthirsty worms to drain excess blood after microsurgery, which helps to promote natural healing. They can be used in post-operative care of skin grafts or after losing fingers and ears have been reattached. They produce a protein that stops blood clotting, and this gives tiny veins time to knit themselves back together. Willow. Both the ancient Egyptians and the Hippocrates recommended using the bark of willow tree for pain relief. Its effectiveness was eventually proven in a study by the Royal Society in 1763, but it was not until 1915 that drugs giant Bayer started selling it over the counter as aspirin. It is now the subject of between 700 and 1,000 clinical studies each year. And recent advances have shown it far more than just a painkiller, from reducing the risk of stroke to indications it could help prevent cancer. Aspirin is the traditional remedy that keeps on giving. You know, and there's plenty out there. Look at that one, cow stomach juice, wow. But the biggest thing, I think, is nutrition. So this is from March in 2018. It's from the BBC. And it's general practitioners saying, we learn nothing about nutrition, claim medical students. Medical students say they currently learn almost nothing about the way diet and lifestyle affect health, and they should be taught more. They say what they are taught is not practical or relevant to most of the medical problems they see in GP surgeries, clinics, and hospitals. A leading GP estimated that up to 80% of his patients had conditions linked to lifestyle and diet. What does this lack of training... Why does this lack of training matter? Well, I know why it matters. This year, the NHS will spend more than $11 billion on diabetes alone. Social care costs, time off work, etc. will almost double that bill. Type 2 diabetes, the most common kind, is linked to obesity, and right now Britain is the fat man of Europe. But doctors are not being trained to deal with what medics call non-communicable disease, and it's those kinds of illness that are threatening to bankrupt our health system, so a new kind of training is crucial. Wow. Let's see. Okay, so Ali Jaffe said there's just about a society at medical school in everything from sexual health to orthopedics to dermatology, but there just wasn't a nutrition and lifestyle or preventative medicine society. Oh no. We're taught about 10 to 24 hours over 5 to 6 years in a medical school on nutrition. So there you have it. There you have it. 10 to 24 hours. So if you study nutrition for 3 days, if you study nutrition for 3 days, get the literature and have a read through for 3 days, do an 8-hour day, 3 days, you have just had the same training our GPs have had on nutrition. And the research is out there now linking our microbiomes to mental health, to diseases, to overeating, to obesity. Why? Why are they not being trained in this? Why? Because big pharmaceutical companies would not want that. If we teach nutrition to doctors, to GPs, they are very quickly going to come to the conclusion that being vegan, using a plant-based diet, a whole food plant-based diet, is going to prevent the majority of the biggest killing diseases in the Western world. And that is going to lose the pharmaceutical companies a lot of money. It will put GPs out of work. The medical profession will collapse. You think I'm over-exaggerating? I'm not. I'm not. Obesity, type 2 diabetes, cancer, heart disease, stroke. It will be a thing of the past if doctors prevent it by telling people to quit animal products and go to a whole food plant-based diet. It will decimate disease. Decimate it. But they don't want it. And this is why. This is the whole system was brought into being by a greedy, psychotic entrepreneur. That's what happened. You know, it's ridiculous. I mean, let's take a look at what they're worth. When was this? This was published in September the 10th, 2021. Revenue of the worldwide pharmaceutical market in 2020 was $1.27 trillion. $1.27 trillion. Whose palms are they greasing with that kind of money? Is it any wonder they don't want to ban cigarette sales in the UK? Is it any wonder they don't want to stop the sale of strong alcohol because it keeps us ill? Is it any wonder they don't want to give doctors nutritional training because otherwise we won't stay ill? The pharmaceutical companies, the animal agriculture companies, they work hand in hand. They scratch each other's backs. They're helping each other. The animal products keep us ill. The pharmaceutical companies put us right again.